Happy Feast of Christ the King. We have this as one of the more recent feasts that has been established in the church calendar under Pope Pius XI, with the international movement that had been to violently overthrow the Catholic monarchy throughout the world. And the church had, and actually still does to some extent, a vested interest in this. And I want to just to illustrate this by telling you about the last Western emperor that we had in the church, Blessed Karl of Austria. Blessed Karl didn't actually ever expect to be the emperor of Austria. There were a number of successors, and he never really expected to ascend the throne. Well, it so happened that he just went about living a life in the Habsburg family, took for his wife a woman who is now beatified as Blessed Zita. So he was married for 11 years before he died. He had 8 children with his wife, the last of which he never saw, but he would put his hand over her womb and pray for the child that he would never live to see. Well, World War I broke out, and it did with that famous assassination of the Duke, who was Blessed Karl's uncle and one of the successors to be Emperor of Austria. The war raged on for some time, and shortly into it, Blessed Karl's father was killed. And so, assuming this great responsibility that he didn't expect, he went from great wealth to being penniless, and in these horrible circumstances. He sued for peace several times, wanting World War I to be over. And this was one, because he loved peace very much. And he also had a great heart for his people. He would listen to them directly about their cares, and he would use the royal car, which was supposed to be reserved for him alone, to carry goods and supplies to the poor and to his soldiers. But his kindness did not extend only to his people. He forbade any of his men, under very harsh penalties, never to execute anyone who indicated surrender. He was one of the few rulers who actually led his people actually in battle. And this is one of the reasons he wanted peace, while many others were directing from a distance. But the doctrine of unconditional surrender, his cries for peace were unheeded. At one point, he was exiled from Austria, and this is where hopefully this will convey the importance of this feast. The Pope himself really pleaded with Blessed Karl to try and retake Austria. The Pope knew that without the emperor and without a Catholic monarch, that there was no secular power to defend the church against the anti-Catholic and very hostile forces of the world. In fact, we can see this played out as the 20th century went on, and this continues to our day, that we are on pace throughout the world for more martyrs than all the rest of the church history combined. The church, since Constantine, has had a defender, someone to defend the rights of the church, to defend the church, and uphold Christ as the Son of God and truly our King. His kingdom is not of this world, but he came into this world to establish his kingdom, his church. There is much more to this Blessed Karl that is very fascinating, but I don't want to get too far afield. Simply to see in our own day that the need to recognize Christ publicly. As our society has become less and less Christian and has less and less been submissive to the yoke of Christ, we have seen that contentions arise, violence increase, and a number of other disorders enter into our society. The one that always stands out in my mind that I like to remind people of or tell people about who may be too young to remember is it used to be an odd thing, or actually not odd, unthinkable. Unthinkable for anyone to have any desire to go in to a school and shoot teachers and students. I remember the first time this happened in 1991. It was the Columbine shootings. And that was certainly a tragic mark in the history of our nation. And those things have been a continual threat ever since. Why? It's in very simple terms, we need Christ as our King to establish peace in the hearts of men. And so, in this regard, it was understood by many that to retake a country for Christ, to have public recognition and a people that will live according to the heart of Christ. Public recognition actually comes first from him being enthroned in the heart of each of us Catholics. This is expressed beautifully in the enthronement of the Sacred Heart in homes. So let us endeavor to be those instruments of peace, to establish or at least make progress towards reestablishing Christ's rule in our country, that we may have justice, that we may have peace for our children, for our grandchildren, and for those that we love. So let us begin this, and let us remember that this feast day today bids each and every one of us to make those earnest efforts to enthrone Christ first in my heart.